Hi, my name is Frank too, and today I'm going to show you how to make Char Siu, which is also known as honey barbecue roasted pork. Don't be afraid to have little charred edges and crisp because they are actually really flavorful. I love the crunchiness to it, so it's okay if it's a little bit charred, it's not burnt, it's delicious, and it's part of the recipe. Enjoy, and I hope you like it. So we are going to start making our Char Siu marinade. I'm starting off with vegetable oil, ginger, and we're adding our scallion. Here's some garlic, and we're just going to toss it around so that all the oil infuses into our aromatics and it's going to be so flavorful. So over here is 5 spice. It has a lot of flavor and it's essential to the ingredients. Our fermented bean curd, it is going to give it the iconic flavor, and it's kind of like a miso paste but in tofu form, and it has it packs a punch of flavor and you're going to love it. And I'm just going to mash it up so that it's easier for us to stir it and dissolve it in our marinade, but it's so easy. And over here is our fermented bean curd sauce. It is what's going to give it the iconic red color in our Char Siu. Honey here to add a bit of sweetness, and we also love more sugar. So instead of adding salt, we love using soy sauce to add a little bit of saltiness and umami. So this is Shaoxing wine, which is also known as white wine. Now we're going to mix it all together so that it's combined. So once it starts bubbling like this, I'm going to take it off the stove and let it cool to room temperature. So now that we've made our marinade, it's pretty hot, so we're going to let it cool to room temperature for 15 minutes before adding it to our protein. So now that the marinade has cooled to room temperature, I'm just going to add in our pork shoulder. And we're going to give it a toss so that everything is evenly coated in our marinade and it gets all that delicious flavor. So we already marinated our protein overnight and it has taken on more color and flavor. Now at this point, it's a great time to preheat your oven to 300 degrees Fahrenheit and we'll get baking. So we're going to place our protein on a lined rack with aluminum foil covering it to make our lives easier. I'll remove little pieces of ginger and scallion that's stuck to the pork from the marinade. It's important to remove this so that you don't burn when you're baking it. So I just poured the marinade into our pot and over a strainer. It is to strain out all the ginger, scallions, and garlic so that we have like a nice smooth sauce. Since there's a lot of sugar in our marinade, we are going to reduce the liquid to cook out the germs and bacteria from touching the pork. And we are going to make it viscous and glossy. It should be viscous like honey. As I'm stirring, I want to make sure that I am stirring in such a way that I'm getting the edges of the bowl so that no sugar sticks on the side and burn. So you just want to make sure that when you're stirring, give it a good stir, not a small mini stir. All right, it has reduced significantly in volume and it looks like very sweet. Oh, it's really thick and beautiful. So I'm just going to glaze it on the top side first, and then I'm going to boil it for around 2 to 3 minutes, and then I'm going to flip it and then glaze the other side. By broiling it, you create a layer of color, a layer of flavor, and then it's going to get charred and a little bit crispy with burnt tips at the right edges, and it's going to taste super delicious. So now that I'm done glazing, I'm going to bring them to the oven and broil it for 3 minutes on each side. So they just finished broiling and they're looking really good. They take on more color and the edges are getting a little bit crisp. And I think it's going to add so much texture and flavor. So we're going to flip to the other side and we're going to glaze it as well and broil. And depending on where you broil at your oven, the closer you are to a broiler, it might get a little bit hotter. So just keep in mind and keep an eye out for texture and for color. You can keep on glazing it and creating that beautiful red ring color until you run out of glaze. So these just came out of the oven and they're really hot. So I'm just gonna let it cool down for a few minutes before slicing them. So we just finished letting it cool completely to temperature and we are just going to start cutting it. And it's important to let it cool because you don't want it to cut right into it directly when it's hot, all the juices are going to flow out and it's going to make your pork a little bit more dry. So let it cool and you can start cutting. I like to cut my meat around 1/4 of an inch thickness. It's just perfect in terms of the texture and balance, but if you want, you could cut yours a little bit thinner. Wow, it looks so good and I cannot wait to dig in. I'll grab a piece. Ah, the crispy edges look so good. Mmm, homemade. Go shop at H Mart.